Okay, this is meant to show you some of the features and useful elements of the databases that we have at the school. I really recommend you start with the databases. It compiles much more specific evidence that you're going to be needing, and it's far more specific than Google or Bing searches. So this is the place to start. It's all useful information. It's going to be reliable information, so you don't have to sift through it and see if it's just an opinion, propaganda, whatever, if it's actual news or real, yada yada. So first thing I would do is make sure you have EasyBib. If you have not signed up for EasyBib, I recommend it, and I'll explain why in a second. Then create a project. So you'll see I have Protest Project 1920. So this is my new one. Open up that project. You're going to need this open, and I'll explain that in a little bit. I also have OneDrive open, which you could have open. I have it open for a purpose that I'll show you. It might be useful for you to have it open too. We'll see. So to get to the databases, you go to the library page. Then you will notice these here. So global issues, science, and opposing viewpoints in context are all Gale Cengage. It's a parent company, so the interface is the exact same. So I'm just going to use opposing viewpoints in context because that one's probably going to be useful for all of your projects. Science and global issues, depending on your topic, they could be useful as well. But if you go here, so first of all, you'll see you can do advanced search, like a Boolean search. You can also do this and search global issues. You can search both of them. It's not a bad place to start. So I am going to start with abortion because you are not allowed to use abortion. So I know I'm not going to be giving you anything free. This you'll see breaks down. You have these up here where you could go to academic journals or news. We also have this broken down. You'll see just gives you a few kind of introductory ones. Videos, audio, magazines can be fairly useful. Something about late-term abortions, that could be something might be worthwhile. So if I click on that, few things you can do here. If you read through this, you realize this is excellent. I'm going to use this in my paper, or even if you think maybe I will at some point. First of all, you could look over here. You can narrow this down a little bit more. There are other ways of narrowing things down too. Again, I can show you that individually if you want. But some of the useful features. So first, if you know you're going to use this or you think you might, make sure that you're signed in. I'm already signed in. You can sign in with Google or Microsoft. And since I'm signed in with Microsoft, I'm going to upload this to the OneDrive. Then if I go to OneDrive, you will see this folder pops up. So now if I open that folder, there's that article I was just reading. So I now have that there. Also, you're going to need the citation information. So there are a couple ways to do this. I'll show you both. So first, you could just do the typical copy. I already have a works cited page set up here, so I could just paste it. Make sure you merge the formatting so it's a little bit better. And I would probably do something like this just to make it a little bit more kind of lined up. So I have that, can come back to that later. That's not the best option, but I'll explain. So the other better option is you can click Cite up here. Make sure this is MLA 8th edition, and then you can export this to EasyBib. When you click Export, you'll see, even though I have EasyBib open, it's going to open up in a new one. And because I had, if you remember back here, I have that project open, it will save it into that project. So once it's there, give it a second. So there's the project. Now I have one citation in there. That, again, we'll come back to in a second. So go back here. I have all that done. I can go back, continue searching. Again, there's some more like those over there. Maybe I want to look at news this time. So this looks like a pretty long one, but how about this? Blowback facing Biden overhead. All right. Kind of keep it with the political realm. So again, related subjects have a lot more this time, so you could use that again. Once again, if I'm going to use this, I upload it to the drive. I can do this. This is a long one. But eventually, at the bottom, you're going to have your source citation. Once again, I could do this. This is not the best option. Again, I'll explain this in a little bit. But if you do that, so now I have those. They're already alphabetized, so that's good, but there's other things that will need to be done. Then, back up here, I'm going to click Cite again, export this to EasyBib once I make sure it's MLA 8th. And then you will see Takes a bit, but my project is there. Now I'll have 2 citations. So I have both of them in there. Again, if I go back to this folder, now I have both of those in it. So say I'm done. I've utilized everything I can on opposing viewpoints, global issues and context, something like that. I can go back here and let's try ProQuest. ProQuest is also a great database. There are several within it. So this one, again, you can do advanced search, publications. Make sure you click full text to narrow it down. Then, once you search for something, again, you have a lot. So this is over 1 million. Let's narrow it down to the last 5 years. Make sure it's the most relevant, up-to-date information. Good. That narrows it down a lot. And then again, you can narrow this down even more. I'm going to click on newspapers and see what comes up there, since I know a couple that we have there from Washington Post, things like that. Okay, let's say this one seems interesting. So I click on this from the Tampa Bay Times. I have the full text. I see that it's got some useful information. I'm going to use it. It looks a little different here, but you basically are going to do the same thing. So you can go to Cite. Then if you are still going to do the typical copy and paste, I could do this. And then I have that. This should look funky. That is not the way it should look when you're done, which again, I'll explain in a second. So if I'm done with that, then there's also, if I click, excuse me, I didn't want to do that. If I click Save, a couple things, here's where the Microsoft OneDrive or Google Drive is, so I can save it here. For some reason, ProQuest doesn't recognize my school account, so I have to open up my personal account and it's going to save it there. So once this is done, I'm going to show you, it's basically going to be the same thing. So this is going to be a different look because it's my personal OneDrive, but it's going to be the same idea. You'll have a new folder. This one's going to say ProQuest. If I click on it, same as before. So again, here's the article. I can go through it. I can highlight it. I can do whatever I want to with it. So going back to ProQuest though, if I click Save, again, I can also export this to EasyBib. It's a little bit, there's another step involved there. So do it without abstracts, then import. Again, assuming you have that particular project open already, it's going to save it into the same program. Or excuse me, project. So there it is. There's all 3 of them. So considering I just started ProQuest, again, there's any number of things I could search for. There are also related items over here. You can narrow it down by publication type, dates. There are numerous ways to narrow this down. So the beautiful thing and why I really recommended you have EasyBib set up is you'll remember down here, we have our Works Cited page. But take note of that. We're going to come back to it. This, if I want, I can just export it to a Microsoft Word document. And once I click export, you can save it and name it as whatever you're going to name it. And then once it is exported, when you open this up, it has created your Works Cited page for you. So there's the other one. We're going to come back to that side by side in a second. But the one that EasyBib creates for you, you'll notice everything is formatted correctly. So going back to the one that I just created by copying and pasting, you'll notice some of the capitalization is off. This capitalization is way off. It's not, actually it does look like it ended up being alphabetized already. But going here, you'll notice the capitalization is fixed. You've got your italics all correct. It's alphabetized. Had it not been alphabetized before, it would have alphabetized it for you. This creates a perfectly formatted Works Cited page for you. So unlike this, which isn't terrible, I mean, you're welcome to do this again, but then you have to go through and make sure you fix all this capitalization. If you notice, nothing should be in all caps. It needs to be correct capitalization. This is formatted and everything is what you need it. So EasyBib is really useful in that sense. So that, if you get all of your articles, all of your resources from the databases, you can export them all here. You can create your Works Cited page. And one of the nice things about that too is then when it comes time to do your in-text parenthetical citations, whatever is on the left margin is what goes into your parenthetical citation. So obviously this has an author, so it's going to be Emory if there's a page number, which this one won't have one. But with that, that's in the parenthetical. If there's no author, it starts with the article title, so just abortion war in quotation marks would be in the parenthetical. The Daily 202 in quotation marks in the parenthetical. This kind of, if you have a good works cited page set up and formatted well, it's going to help immensely with your in-text parenthetical citations. So anyway, that is just a quick rundown overview of the usefulness of the databases. I really recommend again that you start there, but as you're researching during class, I can help you with more specific things. If you want to narrow down your searches, things like that, I can help you out. So hopefully that will be useful for you.